In English, we have 12 different tenses, and as you look at this chart, it may initially seem a little bit overwhelming, because how are you supposed to read it and how are you supposed to make sense of it? Well, we can be more specific in categorizing this information, and so instead of saying that we have 12 tenses, we can use the word tense more specifically to say that we actually have 3 tenses and 4 aspects, and when we combine them, then we get these 12 different tenses, I suppose you can call them as well, but 12 different ways to use an action or a verb. So we'll start with the tenses then. We have 3 tenses. We have the past, what happened before. We have the present, what is happening now, or in the now moment, whatever that means. And we have the future, which is what happens later. And you can read this vertically then. So all of these actions here happen now. I walk, I am walking, I have walked, I have been walking. And you can see that with the last 2, they're not happening exactly right now, right? So by the now moment, we mean something fairly loose and fairly expansive. I've given you a regular verb here in I walk, and all the orange ones are kind of related to this verb, but I've also indicated that there are irregular verbs as well, and those change in different ways. So I sang, for instance, is the past tense of I sing, and I haven't conjugated the yellow verb, the irregular verb here fully, but I think you can kind of go through it and use the same pattern as I walk and then see how it might be similar or different. So the continuous would be I was singing, I am singing, and so on. Okay? So that is tense, but we can also talk about aspect, and we have 4 different aspects as mentioned. And the word aspect often gives people a bit of trouble, because what does it really mean? Well, I've defined aspect here for you as how an action relates to time, or how it extends over time. And let's see if we can quickly make sense of the 4 different aspects. So the simple aspect refers to an action that simply happened. Okay, so we can sort of draw an arrow here that it just happened at a point in time, but we're not being too specific necessarily about when it happened. And in fact, what's kind of weird about the present simple here, you can also say the simple present, by the way, but we tend to read it from the top down, so first the tense and then the aspect. But if you're talking about the present simple here, I walk, you wouldn't say that if you're just talking about what you're doing right now, right? You would actually say, I am walking. That's what's happening right now. You don't say, I walk. So what's kind of weird about the simple aspect is that it often has a bit of a timeless quality to it. It's something that could happen over time, or that you could use to talk about repeated actions or habitual actions. So you could say, I walk every day to school. Right? And that's an action that you repeat all the time. So the simple aspect isn't entirely simple. It refers to an action that simply happened, but in terms of its duration, there's quite a bit of flexibility, and we're not being entirely specific in terms of what's going on here. Okay, then the continuous is an action that takes place over a period of time. So it's a continuing or progressing action, and it's really categorized by the present participle, which ends in ing, and then we have some helping verbs with it. And the present participle does have that sense of continuation, right? Walking. It doesn't say it happened at this moment. It's a process. So the continuous or progressive tense or aspect then indicates a sense of something happening over a period of time. Notice that the past tense here, so the past continuous, in some languages this is referred to as the imperfect. So if you learn French, for instance, the past version here may be called the imperfect. And so that's the similarity that you can look for. The perfect is something that happened in the past and was completed. So it's something that was completed and sort of has an endpoint. Sorry, I shouldn't say in the past, because it can also happen now or in the future. So it's a completed action that happens in the different tenses. So you can say I had walked, I have walked, or I will have walked. And then the perfect continuous, the last one, is sort of a combination of the previous 2. And the way you can think of this is as a kind of continuing action that also has an endpoint. So I had been walking, right? Walking is that continuing action, but then there was an end point and something else probably happened after that. I had been walking when, I tripped or something happened. So the perfect continuous then is a kind of hybrid of the previous two. And that's it then for tense and aspect. And if you combine the two, as we've seen, you can create all these 12 different tenses in English.